What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about a brand new Looney Tunes film that's on the horizon. So without further ado, let's get into my thoughts on The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. Directed by Peter Browngardt, this film stars people like Bauza, Candi, Milo, Peter MacNicol, Fred Tatasciore, and many more. And before we get too far into this video, I'd like to say big thanks to all of you guys who clicked here on the video. If you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. I always appreciate anybody coming back to hear one of my reviews. And if you're new to the channel, maybe this is your first video or you've only seen a couple of videos and you're not really sure if you want to subscribe just yet, I want to implore all of you guys to hit that subscribe button, as every week you can have reliable early reviews for movies and TV shows here on the channel, as well as a slew of various retrospective reviews, live streams, and the occasional vlog from time to time. So definitely hit that subscribe button if you're interested in some of that. But today we're going to be talking about a new Looney Tunes film that honestly I didn't even know was coming out. This is a film that started to premiere in other countries, and you can find trailers in other languages and with subtitles in other languages that have started to kind of trickle out online. There's not even an American trailer for this film just yet, which surprised me quite a bit. It's coming from Ketchup Entertainment, who sent me over an early screener to check this out. And when I got this in my inbox, I started to look it up, and I was like, a whole new Looney Tunes 2D animated film that I had not heard about at all that's on the horizon. This film, in just a couple of weeks on December 13, will start a limited release here in the States, but actually doesn't come out until February 28th here in the States. So I'm getting to check it out quite a bit early. So a big thanks to the kind folks over at Ketchup Entertainment for sending me over an early screener. And this is a fun one because the best way I can describe this Looney Tunes film is that it takes it back to basics. I haven't really covered a lot of Looney Tunes stuff here on the channel. The only thing that's come out Looney Tunes related since I've had this channel that I've covered is Space Jam 2 with LeBron James, which I enjoyed for what it was, but it wasn't a great movie to me. It by no means was as good as the original to me, which I definitely have a lot of nostalgia for. But when it comes down to the Looney Tunes, because I haven't spoken on them a lot, I feel like I should mention I love the Looney Tunes. As a kid, I used to love playing the various video games that came out when I was a kid, or the ones that came out before my time as well. And I think like a lot of kids who grew up in the late 90s and the 2000s, you probably saw a bajillion reruns of the many Looney Tunes shorts and episodes and movies that played. And then of course there was various movies that came out as well when I was a kid, and then there was just a various slew of other TV shows that came out, like the Young Looney Tunes or the Baby Looney Tunes and stuff like that when I was a young kid. So I definitely have my history with the Looney Tunes, and in recent years they're not really characters people are really familiar with. I work with a lot of people who are younger than me, and every here and there I'll quiz them on some old pop culture, and they'll make me feel incredibly old. And when it comes down to the Looney Tunes, I have run into so many younger folk that can't even name one Looney Tunes character, which is crazy to me. It's not even something that I can compute, but it's something that I come across quite a lot. So going into this new movie that is actually a throwback, takes it back to 2D animated Looney Tunes action, I was really excited. The base premise of this film, and it's really simple, is you have Daffy and Porky, who we learn at the beginning of this film were adopted by a farmer named Farmer Jim, who I absolutely love in this film. And Farmer Jim raises them as brothers. That is, two of them end up sticking together. They live in this one house together that Farmer Jim leaves to them, and aliens invade. The alien invader, played by Peter MacNicol in this film, is coming to the world to try to control the minds of people through a bubblegum factory, and when they chew this bubblegum, they become mindless zombies. And so now Daffy and Porky Pig must work together to try to stop this alien invasion, and along the way they come across Petunia Pig, who also helps them on this journey. Both Porky and Daffy are played by Bauza, which is just great. I love when you have a voice actor who comes in and plays a lot of the main roles, where a lot of times it just is really them talking to one another, and I think that he does a great job of capturing both of these characters. If you look through his IMDb list, he has played these characters before and other things, so it's not like he's a new actor into the roles, but I think he does an incredible job of bringing these characters to life and, doing exactly what you would expect when it comes down to Daffy and Porky. These are the characters you know and love when you grew up. And what I loved about this movie is that it allows it to kind of be something that's modern, something that is kind of, for newer generation of kids, but in a lot of ways it feels far more for somebody like me who grew up with the Looney Tunes. It's a very simplistic, straightforward story. It's not trying to be anything more than that, with a lot of the same Looney Tunes antics that you would see in the old cartoons. By no means, though, does this movie elevate the material by kind of taking the writing to a more modern level, and I think you can see that in the fact that this film is actually credited to 14 different writers on IMDb, and you can kind of feel that. It feels like they kind of brought a collective of minds together to write a bunch of funny short skits that kind of build this story up. That kind of leaves this film feeling, in a lot of ways, like a pretty traditional Looney Tunes film that doesn't necessarily kind of rise to the occasion of making something that's bombastic and crazy and new and overly fresh on a narrative level, but that's kind of okay to me because it feels like throwback Looney Tunes. I feel like it's a simple story that's asking you to kind of shut your brain off and have a good time with characters that you know and love. And having Daffy and Porky at the lead of this film, I thought was really funny because you have Daffy being all crazy and easily angered and kind of a frustrating, chaotic character. And then you have Porky Pig, who has anxiety and he's trying to handle things like in a completely different way. There's a fun little romantic element between Porky and Petunia in this film, and how Daffy is kind of like this third wheel that I thought was a lot of fun. And in a lot of ways, this just felt like it captured the heart of what made Looney Tunes what it is. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are my age or older who grew up with the Looney Tunes and are going to watch this and feel like kids again. That's exactly how I felt while I was watching this film. I felt like a kid again. I felt like I was kind of thrown back to a time that's no longer here. And I think this movie is going to be a great way for a lot of old school Looney Tunes fans to kind of show this to their kids and have a new modern movie that has some modern sensibilities in its humor while still kind of maintaining the cheesy humor of old school Looney Tunes. It's going to be a great way for parents to kind of showcase something of their childhood to their kids, but something that's also new, something that the parents can experience for the first time and enjoy, and something that the kids are maybe going to be able to kind of appreciate a little bit more because it does have a little bit more of that modern touch to it. The animation in the film is really solid, again, very much feeling like old school Looney Tunes, but just with that level up of what we're able to do with modern day animation. And I just thought that in a lot of ways, it just felt like a love letter to the stuff that I grew up on. With all that said, though, like I said before, I don't think this is a riveting story. I think this is a very straightforward, simple story, and I think that's okay. But I do think it's important to mention that if you aren't a fan of Looney Tunes already, if old school Looney Tunes wasn't something that really worked for you, I don't necessarily know that this is going to buy you in. I don't think this is going to be something that's going to blow people's minds. I can't foresee this being on people's top 10 movies of the year list, but I do find this to be a film that a lot of people who are nostalgic for the Looney Tunes, who just want something that feels like the old days, are going to be able to have a lot of fun with. But it is very important to say that the story here is incredibly bare bones. The best way I could describe it is cute, fun, and entertaining, but not necessarily something that, again, kind of takes things to the next level. It's not something that's going to get you overly emotional watching. You'll have a smirk, you'll probably laugh at a couple of moments you may recognize. That feels like a dated, cheesy joke of a bygone era, but something that maybe has a little bit of charm. But again, I think this is going to be a good entryway in for a lot of new Looney Tunes fans that can be shown this by their parents who grew up loving it, and the parents can probably feel like kids again watching it themselves. With all that said, I don't have an abundance more to say on this movie. I think this is a very straightforward, clear-cut film that knows exactly what it is. And if I had to lead into any gripes that I really have with this film, is just the fact that I wish they would have maybe taken the story into a better direction, maybe done more with character development, but at the same time, I feel like I really can't hold that against this film because it's clear to me that the vision was not that. And also, I want to say once again, the character of Farmer Jim, for anybody who sees this film, for some reason, was the most majestic and hilarious character in this film, even though he has fairly brief screen time, and I think Fred Tatasciore did a great job playing this character. So that's going to be my straightforward thoughts on the new Looney Tunes film, The Day the Earth Blew Up. Definitely looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about this. Have you heard about this film, or you were like me and had heard nothing about it? Are you planning to check it out when it comes out? Are you a big Looney Tunes fan? Whatever the case may be, leave any and all comments down below, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next one. Bye-bye.